Okay, so Brandon, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
I wanted to kind of go back. What is your first musical memory that you remember?
First musical memory. A very early one is my mom playing records in the house, and she'd play all kinds of like classical and some opera. But then she came home with We Are the World when I was really young, and I played that song on that record player over and over. That was a great song.
So
That's one of my earliest memories. Yeah.
What was it about the song that you liked so much?
Gosh, just that it was a song for change, and of course all the world's best artists at the time were on it. I mean, everybody was on it, and they were all singing it together. And I think actually, I've never really said this as a musical memory, but I think it was important actually. It was just a bunch of big artists saying we need change, and that might have inspired me when I was like 4 years old, more than I know, actually.
So what were the artists that you listened to growing up and that you thought, I want to do this as well?
Elton John and Bob Dylan, Peter Gabriel, and James Taylor.
And what was it about them that you liked?
I don't know, something about the honesty of their words and of the music. It didn't seem shallow to me. It seemed like every song had a purpose. Every musical part had a purpose, and I loved how they performed in their concerts. So I was all about it at a young age.
So when did you get into playing piano?
Kind of late. I always had a piano in my house, but I never really wanted to play it much. I took 3 weeks of lessons when I was 10 and gave it up. And then it wasn't until I was 17 or so that I started realizing, whoa, if I learned an instrument, then I could write a song. And then I got obsessed with the piano because I wanted to write so bad.
Okay, what sort of, I'm gonna jump forward now, the previous record, how do you look back on it?
On my last record?
Yeah, your last record.
Well, each record is such a different state of mind. It comes from an entirely different place for me. It comes from what I've been through the previous few years. And that record, it's called Simplify. I had just been through a lot. I was on major labels in the States, and it was getting a little stressful for me. I was starting to lose a little of who I was in the process of all the opinions. And so I took some time away. Probably 6 or 8 months, and then when I came back to the music scene, I was just in a very calm, simple state of mind, and I just wrote a really mellow record and really thought about the words, and I didn't think about pop music or genres or who should I be or what. It came out of me, you know.
So you said you lost yourself in the opinions. Was it the record labels that you...
It was everything. It's really hard to understand when you're not the person doing it, but when you're just doing all the travel and all the promotion, and you're constantly thinking about what song you should sing, how you should look, you know, what should your next song sound like, who should you be. You have managers and labels, and it gets stressful, and you can get spun up in it and start to think, oh, I should be this, because that's what all the other popular people are being. But if you really take a step back, you should be yourself. And that's what people want. They want everybody to be themselves, and that creates the best art. So I'm glad I got some perspective, finally.
So I read that for the album Simplify, you used a Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to do that?
Well, honestly, it was my first record off of a major label in a while, and I thought, how am I going to pay for this? And someone told me about Kickstarter, that it really works. And it did. It was amazing. And it's actually just a genius thing. Kickstarter or Pledge Music, all these different platforms are kind of genius because all you're really doing in the end is asking your fans to buy your record early. And if you have good fans, then they usually want your next record, and you can get the startup money to make it. And then you don't need to borrow money from other people sometimes. So it really worked. And I did it again for the Howl. I did a pledge music campaign.
You did it as well.
Yeah. And they both were really helpful.
Yeah, is it hard for a musician to start out and be able to make a record?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard. Records aren't as hard to make or as expensive, obviously. You know, you can make them in your basement now, but it's hard to get the promotion and the team, the people who believe in it. It takes a lot of thought. I mean, every hour of every day, usually, a musician is thinking about how to get his album out there. It's a big process.
So what is it then that keeps you going? Like,
for me, it's the love of live performing and the love of writing. And if I can just remember to get lost in each one of those things, then I can stay happy and fulfilled. But if for some reason the writing process turns sour and I don't like it anymore, or if the live show for some reason isn't giving it to me, then it's not that fun, you know? And that's why sometimes all the touring and all the promotion, that can get more like work and less like fun. So you have to really balance it to make sure you like your art, you know?
Yeah. So the Howl, your new EP, when did sort of the writing process start?
So I was mellow guy for a while, simplify, and going around the country, or the US, I was touring it like crazy. And something started to happen with my trio. We just started to play a little more rhythmically and started to make these mellow songs move a little more. And then we played a couple covers, and then I wrote a few new songs, and I started to think, I think I'm coming out of the mellow. I think I want to move again. I want to write some more upbeat stuff, some more pop stuff, some music to make people dance in it. But it was a really natural transition because we started to make people dance at the shows for the first time in my career. People were just getting up and dancing, and it was addictive. So I went home, and after those few tours, and I just went in my studio and drank whiskey and hung out in my boxers and just danced by myself with headphones on, and really just got into these grooves for hours. Before I even wrote songs, I was trying to get the grooves right so I could make myself dance, and hopefully we'd make other people move a little more.